Okay, so again, thank you very much, all of you, for joining on our Sunday evening discussion on Bhagavad Gita. This is topic 5 of Discover Yourself. The name is Substance and Shadow, and we are discussing um, the subject wherein what is the origin of everything, what is this material world all about, and what is a different word and another word which is full of happiness and full of eternity, full of bliss. What is that word, and what are we doing here? How do we go to that world, right? And before that, we are discussing that why is no what is the how do you understand suffering in this world, right? So as Shashi said, suffering is due to mind, intelligence, false ego. Hmm? So this is right, but how it is right, I'm just trying to explain that. Okay, whatever we identify with, that gives us suffering. Hmm? So some time ago, one of my friend was going to some other city in an aeroplane, and on the airport he saw an incident he was sharing with me. What happened was, this one security person, he was checking the bag of a lady. That if there is something, they found something in the scanning, and some metallic thing. So they required the bag to be opened, and they checked, and then the security person, he closed the zip of the bag suddenly, and this lady's nail got stuck in the zip, and the nail broke. She had these long nails on one of the hands, right? And the nail broke a little bit. And after that, it was such a scene this lady created at the airport, shouting at the security person. And she was like, well-to-do lady, sophisticated, maybe, some, she was handling some nice post in some company or something like that, uh, looking like an executive. But the way she behaved after that was a scene on the airport. So what happened was, she was so disturbed by the breaking of the nail, which she actually pampered a lot. Hmm. So in this case, what we see, that the identification was too much with this nail alone. Now, nail does not have any life, right? If you cut the nail, we don't feel any pain. Even to such a thing, the identification can be there. And when something happens to such a thing, that gives us trouble, right? A lot of most of us, we drive vehicles, right? We drive cars, and many a times we see in the traffic, a lot of traffic is there, somebody hits the car from behind, some scooter or some auto or some other car, right? And after that, it is seen, even if there is a smallest dent, smallest scratch on the car, the car owner gets out of the vehicle, he gets the, catches the collar of the other person, he beats him, he says abusive words, and the entire traffic is jammed just because of these two people fighting. What is happening here? The identification is with car. Too much identification. So what? So this person, right now, I am thinking that I am uh, actually I am soul, but I think that I am this body. So whatever trouble gets to the body, I feel difficulty, right? And we start identifying with things in this world. Nails in one example, car in another example. When I'm driving the car, I feel like I am car only. I am the car. Aham car. Aham karosmi. Huh? Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham kalosmi, I am time. And the people who drive car, they think that Aham karosmi, I am car. And then whatever happens to car, there are so many incidents, right? We have heard, if something happens to car, people actually shoot each other in the Delhi traffic. You would have heard the news some years ago. Somebody actually shot the other person dead because he came too close to this person's car. Identification at the level of car. Similarly, there are people who identify too much with the mind, right? Now, all of us are in more or less we do that, but some people, they do it more. Some people they do it less. For example, many a times people find enjoyment in watching movies, isn't it? Or watching serials or reading novels, right? What is happening? Actually, nothing is going on. This person is sitting at one place and he's watching the movie and he's enjoying in the mind. Everything which he's seeing, he's imagining in the mind. He's making stories out of it. He's following the suspense and the climax in the novel or in the movie. Excuse me. So this is enjoyment at the level of mind. Hmm? Enjoyment at the level of intelligence can be seen from the type of games people play. Some people play physical activity games, football, volleyball, cricket. Some people play chess, and they keep sitting at one place for 2 hours, and they move their pawns. They are enjoying at the level of intelligence. There are some people who like daredevil acts. People who do mountaineering, they will climb the Mount Everest, Himalayas. They will put their country flag there. So that is enjoyment at the level of false ego. I will do it no matter what. 99% of the people, they actually die when they start climbing the Himalayas. But this person still says, no, I will do it. And he climbs it, he puts the national flag. So identification is at different levels. People who are identifying with the body, they keep on pampering the body. They do not even go to the level of mind and false ego, more or less. But of course, in this world, this all is mixed. There is nobody who we can say that, oh, this is the bodily identification person, or this is the mind identification person. No, this is all mixed together. Okay. So now what happens is, the way we behave in certain situation, it tells us that how we are conditioned. Okay, our mind, intelligence, false ego, they are conditioned because of so many millions of births we have taken in the past. Okay, this body is not, the body also gets conditioned to the comfort, right? Let's say somebody who is who always bathes with the hot water, he cannot bathe with the cold water suddenly, right? So that is conditioning at the level of body. And then there's conditioning at the level of mind, intelligence, and false ego. The kind of emotions we exhibit, the kind of behavior we exhibit in certain situations. So that is our impressions from so many past lives that dictates what response we give, right? So at this particular time, when we are in this material world, our mind, intelligence, false ego, they are materially tinged. They are conditioned. They, the soul wants to derive happiness, and mind, intelligence, false ego, because they are conditioned, they give the options which are material options to the soul. Okay, you eat this, you do this act, you collect this much, or you behave in this way, then you will be happy. These all options are given by, the options are given by mind. Intelligence actually executes that option, and false ego identifies with that particular option. The yes, because I'm this body, because I'm this mind, this will make me happy. Because I'm Indian, the false ego will always say you are the Indian. So now because I'm Indian, then singing national anthem will give me happiness. Okay, something like that. So okay, now this all understanding is going to help us in today's session. So last week we had discussed the time factor in this world, right? Which destroys everything. And when the soul comes from the spiritual world to the material world, it gets engaged into this body, and with time the body deteriorates, and the soul and the mind, intelligence, false ego, they leave and they take the another body. And we'll discuss something about the cultural aspects of India and television. Right, the Colonel Bill Brett, he said that television should be thrown out of every Indian home. And the soul comes from the spiritual world. The soul comes from the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, every word is a song, every walk is a dance, right? Every and the water is like nectar. That is our real home. That is free from old age, disease, death. Why there is no death, no old age, no disease there? Because we live there as souls. We are the spirit soul. The material body is not there, and the soul never dies. Soul always remains as is, right? It doesn't grow old. It doesn't get diseased. That is our eternal home. with God. What are all these people doing here in this picture? There is Krishna Balram, and then there are so many Gopa friends, there are cows, and they're all enjoying life. That is what we do in the spiritual. Sometimes, I had received this question privately that in the last week, that what do we do in the spiritual world? Okay, if you say that material world is there, spiritual world is there, and the soul has to go there, but what will soul do? What will we do after going there? We will just enjoy. And that is the only role soul plays there. We serve, we enjoy, but we enjoy by serving God, by playing with God, and by having nice, sweet relationships with God. That is the Ramayana. That is the no Krishna Leela. That is the Ram Leela. That is how devotees deal with God. That is our goal. Return back home, back to Godhead. And all the religions are talking about it, right? As I told, Jesus said that do not make your home on the bridge. This human life is a bridge from this world to the next world, to the spiritual world. Do not try to settle here permanently, right? So that do not make the home on the bridge. Just cross this world. And this is the shloka which we had recited. How the spiritual world looks like, Krishna is saying, Bhagavad Gita 15.6. Na tad bhasete suryo na shashanko na pavakah yad gatva na nivartante tad dham paramam mama. That is the supreme abode of mine. Paramam. That is the param dham, supreme abode of mine, where if you go, yad gatva na nivartante, you do not come back to this mrityu lok, this world of death. And in every living being renders service to someone. We had seen these examples, but we do not derive happiness uh, permanently with those relations in this world, because either the relationships do not last, or the person with whom the relationship is there, that person will not last, right? So we need, for the permanent happiness, we need a permanent person and a permanent relationship. Who is a permanent person in this entire cosmic, in the entire creation? God is a permanent person. And what is a permanent relationship? The permanent relationship is of the soul with the super soul, that we are part and parcel of God. So the dharma of the sugar is to be sweet. Similarly, dharma of the soul is to love and serve God. Okay, we had seen these examples of Arjuna and Draupadi, and this shloka also we had seen. Sarv dharman parityaja mam ekam shanam vraja. This is the most important verse of Bhagavad Gita. All the acharyas, all the previous commentaries, they have all agreed upon this, that we have to surrender to God, then we will be happy. Now in English, surrender means forceful. Surrender looks, sounds forceful, because police says surrender, then somebody has to actually forcefully surrender, otherwise he may get shot. But actually in the Sanskrit, this word is sharanam, sharan. So sharan is actually by our own will. The sweetness is there, that we actually accept the shelter of of God, of the supreme authority, and then the supreme authority gives us the protection. Krishna is saying in this verse that you take my shelter, Mam ekam sharanam vraja, only my shelter. No politician, no leader, no doctor, no scientist, no one in this world, no demigod. You take only my shelter. He's saying, Mam ekam. Draupadi thought that I will be saved by my husband. She could not. Huh? Then she went to Dhritarashtra, she went to Drona, she went to so many other leaders, Bhishma, in this assembly, but nobody could save her. Then she thought that my strength will save me, but she could not stand against Dushasana. And then ultimately she cried with both of her arms raised in the air, and then she cried out, Madhava, Keshava, please save me. Then Krishna appeared and saved her chastity. So Mam Ekam, Krishna is very exclusive in this regard. He says that you first accept me, the only shelter, and then I will very easily, I will life. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. He says that I will deliver you from all the sins, all the reactions. I will deliver you from this world. Moksha is giving up the cycle of birth and death, right? So I will give you that. Do not worry. Ma shuchaha. Hmm? Extremely important verse. This is, should be our guiding light in our life. Hmm? Okay. And then when we accept that, then we receive this benediction that we get all the opulence, all the victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is the last verse of Bhagavad Gita, the conclusion. Hmm? Now let's move ahead. We have so many centers in the life. We discussed this example of Prabhupada that we cannot draw so many circles on the paper without colliding with each other. We should have one center, and that center should be God. With one center, we can derive infinite circles with increasing radius. Okay, so this is where we had paused in the last week, that due to envy and desire, we fall to this material world. The story of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, they ate the forbidden apple, and because of that forbidden apple, problem is not with the apple. The problem is with with this consciousness that I want to enjoy, I want to disobey God's laws. So if God has said that do not eat this apple, so be it. What is the problem? There are so many other apples to eat, and I'm happy. It's not like I'm missing out on anything. But the Bhagavad Gita says, "Ichha dvesha samuddhena dvandu mohena bharata." That's the verse in the 7th chapter. It says, "Sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa." That why the living entity falls to this world. This is due to these two things. One is desire, ichha. Another is dvesha, envy. So when we were in the spiritual world, we became envious of God, or we became envious with the other people living there. I should have this. Why is he enjoying? I should enjoy. I should control. I should be served. So when we get this kind of feeling, then we are sent to this world that okay, you go there and you try to become God. You try to control things. Just like a child, he he wants to cook, but the parents give him toy uh, toy stove, toy utensils, and child can play and try to make cook some food. But ultimately, when the child gets frustrated, he turns to the parents. No, 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 I cannot do it. You please feed me. You cook on your actual utensils and you please feed me. Similarly, we are supposed to actually identify our frustration in this world that by our own endeavors, we actually cannot do anything in this world. We are trying to do so many things. We are trying to be happy in so many ways, but everything turns into frustration after some time, right? So then we need to turn towards God, towards eternal happiness. That you please, I can't be happy here in this world. This is the toy world. I can't be happy here. You please take me back where I can be happy. Okay. So due to envy and desire to enjoy independence of the Supreme Lord, just like a child who adamantly demands the mother to leave the kitchen to cook himself, mother gives him a toy kitchen set to play in a corner. Okay. So this material world is actually compared to a prison house. Hmm? In this law of land in India, government creates schools, colleges, hotels, um, hospitals, and so many other facilities for the citizens to live their life happily, right? And the same government also creates jails. Hmm? But they do not want, the government doesn't want us to live in the jail. Government wants us to live freely in this land. But there are some of us who try to um, you know make bad use of our free will. The free will has been granted by the government. Yes, there are 7 8 freedoms which are given to you. Freedom of speech, freedom of this and that. So but there are some people who misuse their free will, misuse their freedom, and then their government has to put them in the jail. But then what is the motto of putting them in the jail? That these people should identify their mistakes, they should reform themselves, and then after the reformation, they should come back uh, uh, in the free life again, and they can just mingle with the society. They can again live their life properly, right? The government doesn't want us to live in jail forever. Similarly, this material world is like a prison house. In a prison, uh, God creates this prison for us to identify our mistakes, to rectify that, to purify ourselves, and then go back to the free life again in the spiritual world. Right? The food is provided here, clothing is provided, place to rest, medication, everything is provided in the nature in this world. Hmm? But for these things, we have to work hard. In the prison, in the outside life, everything is provided for free, but the prisoner has to work hard. The jailer will tell, okay, now you break these stones, now you do this, now you do that, then you will get the food, then you will get the clothes, right? And this person would have gotten everything easily in the outside world. Similarly, in the spiritual world, everything is available for free, but because we have broken the law, we are the criminals, then we have to work hard in this life, in this world, to earn the food, clothing, and everything, right? But still, everything is provided at some cost. Hmm? Now, prisoner has to be given a particular kind of a dress to identify, to make him realize that he is in the prison house. By looking at the dress, the prisoner uh, realizes that, oh, I am wearing this dress, I am a prisoner. Others also can identify him that yes, he is a prisoner. Similarly, in the material world, this body is given to us. The body made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. This is a prison dress. Okay, so when we look in the mirror from tomorrow, we should feel like, giving up this dress, prison dress, and going to the spiritual world again in our um, blissful attire. Okay, and that is why in the Sanskrit, the jail is called as Durg. Hmm? So jail has a jailer. Every jail has a jailer. So similarly, this material world is a Durg, and the jailer of this Durg is Durga. Hmm? We worship Durga, right? Durga, this goddess Durga. So Durga is actually the jailer of this world. Hmm? Everyone who has to, she keeps the check. Who is trying to run away? Who is living properly? Who is not doing properly? Then she gives her the reactions. Okay, but what we are doing in this world, we are trying to increase the standard of our jail. So I am in the third class jail right now, and then I am trying to earn a lot of money and a lot of facilities, a lot of comforts, and I am trying to go to first class jail. But sir, you are still in jail. It doesn't matter whether you live in the third class jail or the first class jail. Maybe you will get a little bit more comforts, but then the purpose is to go back home, back to Godhead, go out of the jail. If that purpose is forgotten, it doesn't matter what kind of jail, first class or third class we are living in. And this entire material civilization is just trying to convince us that, oh, you should go to a little bit higher level jail, then you will be happy. But in the jail, nobody can be happy, right? So in the jail, so many miseries are given to the prisoners, right? So that they identify that, oh, they are in so much trouble, they are having so much trouble. Similarly, in this world also, miseries come. Can somebody tell me what kind of miseries we face in the jail of this material world? We have discussed it in the third topic of device. What kind of miseries and fundamental problems we go through in this world?
Are you talking, Jay Prabhuji? Is it about that life, death? Is that what you are referring? Or
Yes.
okay, so
Yes.
old age, death, birth, and one more disease.
Disease. Yes. And apart from that, adhyatmic klesha, adibhautik klesha, and adidevik klesha. Right? The
Yeah.
prisoner has to be tortured in the prison. Right? Outside he was living happily, but in the prison he has to be tortured. Similarly, when we are in this world, these troubles are given to us so that we get tortured and we can actually try to fix these problems by going out of this world. That is the purpose. But what happens is, I'm sorry. What happens is, when first of all, we are so engrossed in our life that we do not try to solve these problems. And then let us say somehow or the other we get interested in the spiritual life. We try to solve these problems, and the others come, the family members, the friends, the society, they come and they say, oh अच्छा, अब भगवद गीता पढ़ने लग गए क्या? ओ, कितना प्रॉब्लम आ गया क्या आपकी लाइफ में? कुछ नहीं, इतना क्यों करना चाहिए? कोलीग्स विल से, अरे एवरी वीक भगवद गीता, अरे लाइफ इज देयर फॉर एंजॉयमेंट मैन, कम ऑन, लेट अस हैव पार्टी, लेट अस ड्रिंक, लेट अस ईट, लेट अस बी मैरी. ये सब क्या करना है? ये सब करके इसके लिए बहुत टाइम है, बाद में करेंगे, अभी तो पाप करने की उम्र है. जैसे आफ्टर you get retired, then you should practice spirituality. But what is the point of practicing spirituality after 50 years when we have done whatever we should not have done? We have done already, right? So life is like this cassettes. Pehle, in our 10, 15, 20 years ago, these cassettes used to come for audio, music, and all, right? So the cassette, one side, both side, it will rotate, and one side will wind the reel, wind up, and other side will wind down, right? So life is like winding up. Once we have done something, we cannot undo it. Then we have to face the reactions. So why not spend time right now, so that when this wind up of the reel is happening, it is all happening, it is all taking me closer to the spiritual world. Every step which I take in this life, I can go closer to the spiritual world. But ours is like, we pull each other down. Somebody is practicing something, we pull his legs down. We don't allow him to practice. So you will also get people like them. So this is the warning I'm giving you, sort of, that do not get discouraged by people saying this. When you have to offer a rose to your loved one, let's say, all of you are, I think, mostly married people, or you can understand this concept. I want to gift a rose to my loved one. Then what kind of rose I choose? A fresh bud, or a 10 days old rotten flower? I will always try to choose a fresh bud, right? So similarly, when we are young, when we are like fresh buds, that is the time when we should when we should offer ourselves to God. After we come 50, 60, we have become rotten, we are not good for anything. Then we go to God and then we say to God that, okay, please accept me. Why should God accept Baba like this? No, God will accept, but then why should we offer like this? We should always offer ourselves to God when we are capable, when we have the strength, when we are fresh. Okay, let's move ahead. So again, the fish. Just as the fish can be happy only in the water, similarly, the soul can be happy only in the spiritual world, not in the material world with any amounts of luxuries and comforts. We are collecting so much matter around us, but matter cannot make us happy. We are the spirit soul, and we need that. We need to connect with that super soul, super spirit soul. The soul can be happy only by rendering loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world, not in the material world where he chases after mirage of material pleasure and gets cheated. The mirage looks like water, but when we go close, there is no water. Similarly, there is a species of deer. It's called Kasturi deer, Kasturi mrig. Kasturi mrig, it has a fragrance in his nose. Some kind of a musk. It is there in its nose, and actually not nose, in the navel. The musk is in around the navel area of this deer, and this Kasturi Mriga, it actually keeps searching his entire life that where is the smell coming from? I want to get this object. Where is the smell coming from? He keeps roaming around the jungle, but he doesn't know that the musk is right there in his navel. And just by running around, he gets spotted by the hunter and he gets killed. Similarly, the happiness has to be experienced at the level of soul. But we are hankering for happiness, running here and there in this world, and our time gets over. And very soon, the Kal Purush, the Yamraj, he hunts us down. Okay, so the part and parcel can be happy only by serving the whole. So there is a beautiful verse in the Shrimad Bhagavatam. It says, Yatha Yathataror mool nishechanena tripyanti tat skandabhujopashakha. It says, just like when you have to nourish the tree, you do not water the fruits and the twigs and the branches and the leaves. What do you water? You water the root. And when you water the root, all the parts of the tree get nourished. Yatha taror mool nishechanena. When you water the root, tripyanti tat skanda bhujopashakha. सब कुछ पूरे ट्री को नरिशमेंट मिल जाता है. Similarly, when we serve the Supreme God, every relationship in this world gets nourished. And another example is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that the way, and there's a story, it comes in the Panchatantra, it says that once upon a time, all the limbs of the body, they went on the strike. They said that these limbs experienced that, we do all the hard work. The eyes see, the ears listen, the hands do a lot of hard work to get the food, the legs also do the hard work, and the stomach, it doesn't do anything, and we just feed the stomach and the stomach enjoys, right? So this is not nice. We will not do it. Henceforward, we will not serve the stomach. We will enjoy independently. Okay, so we will not, the hand said that we will not put the food in the mouth. Leg said that we will not do the hard work of searching for the food or going to the shop to buy something. I said that I will just close my eyes. So like that, everyone went on the strike. And very soon what happened? In a couple of days, all the limbs became weaker. And then they realized that, we cannot be happy independently. Our happiness will be achieved when we serve the stomach. When we put food in the stomach, then automatically we get the nourishment. So stomach is the center. And so we are the dependent enjoyers. We are not the independent enjoyers. We are dependent on the stomach for our nourishment. So similarly, soul is a dependent enjoyer. It is not independent enjoyer. It is not like when we go to the spiritual world and we have to serve God and then we are very, it's a very difficult situation there, and then God is beating us with the hunters, and any mistake we do, we have to suffer. Nothing like that. It is a relationship of love. We also enjoy when we serve God, right? We are dependent enjoyers, but we are enjoyers. We can still enjoy. So the part can become happy only by serving the whole. The part and parcel soul can become happy only by serving the Supreme Lord, who is the whole. Okay, so another example, let's say I extend my hand. So this is not a live meeting. In person, we are not meeting, virtual. But let's say that we were meeting in person and I extend my hand in front of you for handshake. So you will catch the hand and you will do handshake, right? But suppose that some hand is there, only the hand, not the person. Some person's hand is cut and it is presented to you for the handshake. Will you do the handshake? No, right? Nobody would like to shake hands with such a hand, which is not connected to the body. Similarly, so when something, when the part and parcel gets disconnected from the whole, it loses its value. Similarly, the spirit soul has the value till the time it is connected to the super soul. It is connected to the God. Because we are disconnected right now from God, we have lost our value. Just like there is a screw in the machine, the big machine, and there is and the machine has a lot of screws, right? Till the time the screws are tied with the machine, they get polished, they get polished, they get cleaned, right? But let's say that the screw falls apart. After that, no, a new screw will come there and the machine will be functional. But this screw which has fallen apart, it has lost its value. Now it will just go into the trash, right? So we have to again become valuable by connecting to the supreme. So God is like the root of the tree which nourishes everything. God is like that center that on which we are dependent enjoyers, right? And that is why in the Vedic times, God would always be the center of life. In the home, in the center, there used to be a temple, right? Everything, the entire home revolves around God. In the center of the village, there has to be a temple. The entire village revolves around God. Whatever we get from the outside, be it clothes, be it grains, be it anything, it is first offered to God because God is the center. God is the supreme enjoyer. Even today, when the crops are taken out, right? First, there are sacrifices made. The yajnas are to be done. So the sacrifice, the grains and the fruits and the ghee, so many things will be put in the fire sacrifice, and then uh, humans are supposed to consume. These are the Vedic principles, right? First, offer God. But we have to offer that with love, as a loving child, right? Okay, so let's move ahead. So this is the difference between the divine personality and the demoniac personality. A divine person obeys God's laws, demoniac person rebels. Divine is selfless service to God, demoniac is selfishly concerned about own gratification. Sometimes we go to God also for our own sense gratification. We go, but then we demand, oh, please give me this, please give me that. That is not a selfless loving service. Divine person considers everything as gift and mercy of God. And demoniac person thinks that I have achieved this by my power. Divine will think before acting. Demonic will say, just do it. Okay, and the examples are given: Yudhishthira Maharaj and Duryodhan, saintly devotees of God, and modern atheistic culture. Now, there is another way to understand this entire creation. Okay, we have around 20 minutes more, and I'll go a little fast. The Bible tells us the story of a lost child. We are like the lost son of a millionaire father. The Bible tells this the prodigal son story. Is it there on the slide? Maybe it's there on the slide. Yeah, it's there. Yeah, the prodigal son story. What happened was, once upon a time, um, there was a millionaire person, and he had this son. The son got into bad habits, and he started stealing money from the house, and he started doing gambling and so many other bad stuff. The father tried to stop him, tried to say that do not do this. These are bad habits. You will lose everything, and all these friends which you have, they are only for till the time you have the money. They will leave you. But he did not listen. One fine day, he told his father that you give me my property. I am your legal here, so you give me my property half, and then I don't want to live with you. The father said that everything belongs to you. You do not even have to demand the half. You can have it full, but you live with me. You just be a nice son. That's it. What else do you need? But this son said that I do not want any interference in my life. I want to live independently, the way I want, and whatever I want to do. So he took the property half and went away. And naturally, when you have a lot of money, you get a lot of friends, right, who are interested in that money. Slowly, this person, he lost all money, and he became alone, and he became a poor person. Now he did not have strength to go to the father again. So he left that village, went to another village and asked for some work. There was another business rival of this father. He identified this son. He told that, yeah, I will give you the job. Your job is, and nobody was giving this person job because he was into bad habits, right? And nobody wants to keep such a servant. But this person gave him a job. He said that, I have this farm where these pigs and donkeys live, and I get a lot of broken wheat, the grains which is not edible by humans, which is not good for eating by humans. So I get this broken wheat and rice. So your duty is to feed these cattle this broken wheat and rice, and your salary is whatever they do not eat, whatever is remaining left over, that is your salary. You can eat that. In such a bad condition, this person started working, started living that kind of life. But one day, one person from his father's village came to this village with some work, and he identified this son of the millionaire. And he said that, oh, why are you suffering like this? Your father is a millionaire. Why don't you go back to him? You can be happy again. Do not waste your life like this. But this son had a doubt. Oh, how do I go back? Will my father accept me? Villager said, Arey, if your father, what are you asking about accepting? He is searching for you. He has your posters, an entire village pasted that wherever my son is, please, bring him back to me. Then this son gets some courage, and then he leaves this awful job. He goes to his own village. He goes to his home, and he sees that, oh, his father is searching for him, looking for him, craving for him. And then when the father sees the son returning, he runs. Uh, you know, he runs to get his son back, and he embraces him, and then he cries, oh, where were you? I know I've missed you so much, and I was searching for you everywhere. Come back to me. No, why are you living a filthy life independently? The son got his lesson, and he reunited with his father, and naturally he became a good son later, and then he naturally got everything the father had without any trouble. So this is our story. Actually, this is the story of each one of us. We have rebelled against our supreme father, supreme God, and without his wish, without his will, we have come here, and now he sends gurus, acharyas in this world. He sends scriptures in this world. That please, all these souls who are my part and parcel, they are unhappy there without me, and I am unhappy here without them. Please bring them back to me. But just like if I want to go to America, I have to get a visa in India, isn't it? Visa is the qualification to get into America, and the qualification has to be received here in India. Similarly, when I want to go to the spiritual world, I have to be qualified to go to the spiritual world, and that qualification has to be received here in this material world. And what is that qualification? That qualification is to purify my mind, intelligence, and false ego. When I die, my body remains here, right? And I take another body with my mind, intelligence, false ego. The same mind, intelligence, false ego goes to the next body. It will go on body after body, right? Because we have impurities in our mind, intelligence, false ego. I have to purify the spiritual practice. The spiritual life is all about purifying our mind, intelligence, false ego. Get rid of them in this world here, and then the spirit soul alone, stripped of the 8 elements, alone stripped the spirit soul, it goes to the spiritual world. The spiritual world needs spirit. The spirit goes to the spiritual world. With the subtle body and the gross body, we cannot go. Just like if we, let's say, if I want to enter fire, or if I want to enter water, ocean, then I have to have a dress which suits that environment, right? If I want to go to the North Pole, South Pole, I need to have a dress which suits that environment. Similarly, if I want to go to the spiritual world, I have to have a dress which suits that spiritual word, and that is the spirit soul in its own nature. Hmm? And that is the practice of Krishna consciousness. That is the practice of all the yoga systems. Whatever kind of yoga is there in this world, yoga means to connect with Supreme. Right now, so many people in this world, they are doing yoga. That is actually not yoga, that is only exercise. Hmm? So many postures people are able to do, they are able to keep their body fit. But that is what bodily fitness, that is nothing to do with the yoga. Can somebody tell me what is the word meaning of yoga? Yoga. What does it mean? The Sanskrit and Hindi, this there in Hindi also. If few of, no, I was a Hindi medium student in my school, and my mathematics book had this word yoga. Can somebody tell me what is the meaning of yoga?
प्रयत्न प्रयास करना.
प्रयास करना.
योग
No,
मतलब
not prayas. Anybody else?
it's like tapasya.
No, not tapasya.
Okay.
Yoga in Sanskrit or Hindi. So my mathematics book, the Hindi medium mathematics book, it said that 3 और 5 का योग करो और योगफल क्या है लिखो. It is it is addition. Yoga means to add. So whatever kind of yoga you have heard about in your life, the purpose is to add. But add what? The purpose is to add the soul to the super soul. Right? Yoga means, the Sanskrit definition of yoga is yunjate iti yoga. The mechanism of addition is called yoga. So the Shirshasana and the Padmasana and Ustrasan, these are all asanas. Yes. And Ashtanga Yogi, the Ashtanga Yoga is one of yoga mechanisms. Then the yogis actually, they perform these postures, and at the same time they meditate on Supreme. Then that becomes Ashtanga Yoga. Right now it is only exercise. Right? So similarly, there is Karma Yoga, there is Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Sakam Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga, and there is Bhakti Yoga. So Krishna consciousness, the process of Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga. This is also yoga, and we connect with Supreme. Okay, this is the principle of any kind of spiritual path. If anyone is offering any book, any teacher, any spiritual book, any spiritual teacher is offering anything less than that, that is bogus. The spiritual practice means to purify mind, intelligence, false ego, and to connect with Supreme, and to go back home, back to Godhead. Okay, let's move ahead. In the Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, first verse, it says that this material world is a pervert, it's a reflection. This material world is compared to an upside down banyan tree. Urdhva moolam adha shakham ashwatham prahuravyayam. This material world is compared to the ulta tree. The roots are upwards and the branches are downwards. Have you seen such a tree? Why Krishna is telling about such a tree to Arjuna? We have never seen such a tree. That tree is the reflection of the original tree in the water. Right? The original tree has branches upwards and the root downwards. But what we are experiencing right now in this material world is the reflection of the spiritual world. That is the substance. That is the original. This material world is a shadow. That is a reflection. That is imitation. And we are trying to we are trying to eat the fruit of the tree, which is actually not a tree, it is a reflection. So how will this fruit nourish us? Right? The spiritual world is like a real mango tree on the bank of a river, and the material world is like a reflection of the mango tree in the water. Right? So there is a story to understand this concept. Once upon a time, A princess, very, very old story. A princess lost her necklace. This necklace was very dear to her. She used to wear it every day. And when she used to get dressed or when, go to bath, she used to hang this necklace somewhere in her room. So one day, a crow came into the room, inside the room. It picked the necklace and it flew away. And this princess became very restless. And she told to the king that until I get that necklace, I will not eat or drink anything. Hmm? I have to get that necklace back. That's my favorite necklace. So, uh, the king sent the soldiers, and everywhere there was announcement. This is this kind of necklace anybody gets, please get it to the king, and he will be awarded sufficiently. So in the jungle, in the nearby jungle, the actually what was happening? There was a sadhu was sitting under a tree, and a boy came and he saw something. The tree was along the river, and this boy came and he saw something in the water, and he jumped in the water, and then he again came back, and again he started searching for something in the water. Again he jumped, he came out, again he was searching something. So the sadhu wanted to ask. Sadhu asked him, "No, what are you looking for in the water? It looks like you're searching something." But the boy said, "No, no, no, no. I'm searching something, but I will not tell you. Because if I tell you, then you will go to the king and then you will get this prize." Sadhu told, "I am not interested in your prize, but I think that I can help you. So you tell me what is your problem and I will try to solve that. You keep all your prizes." So this boy said that, this princess had lost her necklace, and that necklace I see in the water. But I'm going into the water to get that necklace, but I can't find it. But when I come out, I can see the necklace is there. So the sadhu told him, you are a foolish person. What you are looking into the water is a reflection of the original necklace. The original necklace is see there on the tree, on the branch, it is put there. A crow had come, it put the necklace there, and now you are looking at the reflection and you are jumping in the water. The boy became so happy. He climbed the tree, took the necklace, thanked the sadhu, went to the king, got the prize. So in our life also, we are looking, for happiness in the reflections, and the sadhus come to us. They are the devotees of the Lord. They are telling us this is not real. Leave it. I will tell you the actual thing. But we think that, oh no, maybe he wants to get something from me. Maybe his own selfish motive is there. But sadhus are actually, they want to help us attaining the real happiness, the real necklace. This body, this material world, everything is a shadow. The real person is the soul, and the real home for the soul is the spiritual world. And lifetime after lifetimes, we are trying to get these, happiness from these reflections, but we are unable to. So it's time to realize this truth and turn our face towards the devotees of the Lord who are trying to tell us the real truth. So the spiritual world is there and the material world is there. Another way to understand, this is real marble, right? And this is fake marble. This is real currency and this is fake currency. This is real mango juice. This is artificial, imitation mango. Similarly, there is this real spiritual beauty and this is material beauty. Material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. That is us. How we come in this world. When Krishna comes to this world, he comes in his own, Sat Chit Anand form. He doesn't take a body like us. He doesn't take birth like us. He is the most beautiful person even when he takes birth. Okay, I'll go a little fast. Skip this slide. This is the harsh reality of the most cherished body. When the spirit soul leaves the so-called beautiful body, which in fact is full of stool and vomit, no one wants to touch that body, even if it is decorated with costly costume, even if it happens to be the body of the most beautiful cinema star or a dear relative. Still, the body has to be immediately burned or buried. Hmm? The body loses value as soon as the spirit soul leaves. The real beauty is God's beauty. His body is not like us. Our body is material. God's body is spiritual. In the spiritual world also, he has a spiritual body. In the spiritual world, we also have a spiritual body. But when God comes to this material world, he still comes in his spiritual body. He does not get a covering like we do, the covering of 8 elements. Hmm? That is why Lord Krishna in the scriptures, he is called Navayavanamcha. Lord Brahma in a prayer, he's praying to Lord Krishna, he's saying Navayavanam, that my dear Lord, you're always youthful. You always remain young. You never grow old. Hmm? For example, even for, according to material calculation, when the Kurukshetra war was happening, Krishna was around 125 years old. Hmm? But we've never seen a picture of Krishna where he has this white hair or white beard or he's walking with a stick. Nothing like that, right? He is always youthful. Hmm? And in that way, actually, we are also ever youthful because we are the spirit soul. In the spiritual world, we do not grow old. Hmm? And even today, even if we grow old, our desires are still that of a young person or a child. Hmm? So these desires are coming from the level of soul. So we are also ever youthful. And when God comes to this world, he comes in his own spiritual body, and also he comes in his he brings his own abode with him. He comes with entire entourage, right? That's why in this world we call Vrindavan Dham, Ayodhya Dham, Mathura Dham, Jagannath Puri Dham. Why do we call them Dham? The place where we live, we don't call them Dham, right? Dham is where God has lived, where God is living. So when God comes to this world, he brings partially his own abode here. Just like when a king goes somewhere, even today, when prime minister or president, they go to some foreign conferences, right? How many people go with them? Prime minister does not go alone. He goes with so many staff, secretaries and assistants and servants, so drivers, so many people, journalists also go sometimes. 50 people, 60 people, 100 people, they go. Similarly, when God comes to this world, he doesn't come alone. His eternal associates, his parents, his friends from the spiritual world, they also come. And wherever king goes, let's say king is going somewhere and he decides that, okay, we will do a night stay here at this place. Actually, the king's troop, the soldiers and everyone, they will put up an entire temporary city for that. The cooking will happen there, rest will happen there. Lot people will get freshen up and so many things. Even if there is no facility, people will create facilities there because king has to stay there for a night. So if a king of this world has so much, then why when God he will come? How many people will come with him? He will come with his internal parshads always. And why does he come to this material world? He comes to show us a movie trailer. That come to me. See, these are all my leelas which are happening constantly in the spiritual world. We're all playing together, having fun together, joking, eating, partying. That's what we do in the spiritual world. Why are you suffering here? Come on, come with me. Chalo, we will enjoy. With this motive, he comes to this material world and he shows us the trailers in the Ram Lila, in the Krishna Lila, in the so many other avatars, right? To attract us. Okay, so now we have actually finished this session. Okay, there is one little part which answers the question that why we consider Krishna as God. What is this I know why ISKCON always say that Krishna Krishna Krishna, and he ISKCON में और हम किसी को बोलते नहीं हैं, and Krishna तो विष्णु के incarnation थे and so on. So उसके लिए there is, I can go on this 3-4 minutes more if you allow me. Otherwise we can break, and in the next week we will have the last topic of device, that is why there are so many religions. We have understood the spiritual world, material world, and we are the soul and so many things. Now, how do we understand that? What do we practice? Why there are so many religions, and why different religions talk different things? So that is the next week. Can I go for 5 more minutes since we started late?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you, Vishal. I consider this as a yes from everyone. So this is a definition of somebody to be called as God. This comes from Vishnu Puran 6:547, 6th canto, 5th chapter, 47th verse. Aishwarasya samagrasya वीर्यस्य यशः श्रियः ज्ञान वैराग्योश्चैव षड इति भगम गण. What is the meaning? The meaning is that one who has these 6 opulences in full is qualified to be called as God. What are these 6 opulences? That's what we are seeing, and we'll also see that Krishna is the only person who has these opulences in full. What are these 6 opulences? First of all, wealth, fame, beauty, knowledge, strength, and renunciation. These are the 6 vibhutis, 6 opulences. Anyone who has this 100% and who has this eternally is qualified to be called as God. That is the definition. So first of all, let's see wealth. Who is the most wealthy person in this world? We can say, okay, I think it's there in the next. Yeah, okay. So there may be so many people in this world who are beautiful, okay, but their beauty does not remain forever. They become old, they become ugly, right? So 100% beauty, and then there are a lot of people who are beautiful in this world. You cannot say that this is the most beautiful person, because even the Miss Universe and Mr. Universe, they also keep changing, right? Because they are not the 100% beautiful. Similarly, then there is nobody who is the most wealthy person for all the time to come and in the past, present, future, right? The richest person, the list keeps getting updated every year. The most intelligent person, you do not remain always. The most powerful person, the most famous person, you do not remain always, right? Sometimes the other people become more powerful than you or more famous than you. And most renunciation, highest renunciation. So in this world also we see people who are renounced, who have renounced everything. But then who is the biggest renunciate? That in this criteria we see that Krishna is the only personality who fits in. Who is the most wealthy person? Lord Brahma is praying that Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambram Sevimanam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. He says that Krishna is Ananta Koti Brahmanda Nayak. He is Lakshmi Sahasra Shat. लाखों लक्ष्मियां उनकी सेवा कर रही हैं. Krishna married 16,108 queens, and these all queens were expansions of Lakshmi. Okay, so this entire world is running behind Lakshmi, and these Lakshmis are serving whom? Narayan, Krishna. So Krishna is the most wealthy person, right? Then famous. God has been the famous person past, in the present, and the future also. Even if we go to a, let's say, a tribal community, they also have some concept of God. For them, God is, let's say, a mountain or a tree, but that they know that God is, some concept of God is there. So God is all famous, right? And then, some time ago in America, some archaeological this digging was happening on earth digging, and they found in a cave Vishnu deities in America, and they date back to more than 2000 years old. So at that time also, hmm, uh, Vishnu deities of that time, that means, in the past, present, future, God is always going to be there. The beauty, who is the most beautiful personality? Hmm? Now, this Cupid is the most beautiful person. And the Cupid, when the Cupid's arrow gets stuck in somebody's heart, no, he gets mad. Hmm? But Krishna's name is Madan Mohan. Cupid is Madan in Sanskrit, and Madan Mohan, the person who actually makes Cupid go crazy, that is Krishna, that is Madan Mohan. Hmm? Knowledge, who is the most knowledgeable person in the world? So many scientists have come, so many philosophers have come, but the Vedic literature, they are lakhs and lakhs of years old, they still have value. A lot of scientific research is happening in the Vedic literature also. This Bhagavad Gita it was spoken 5,000 years ago, and so many people are deriving such depth of knowledge from this. It is being studied as a financial help book, a management book, a politician, the a social reforming book, political fundamentals can be derived from this, right? So many ways people are deriving benefits from Bhagavad Gita. Strength, who is the most powerful person? When Krishna was 7 years old, he lifted Govardhan on his weakest finger, and on that too, just on the nail only. Govardhan hill is such a big hill in Vrindavan, and he lifted it on his left hand's smallest finger. And renunciation, everything belongs to Krishna. In this world, whatever is there, it is emanated from him. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate. He says that everything, spiritual and material, whatever you see, whatever is there in the name of creation, is emanating from me. And still, he is not attached to anything. When we want to go out away from Krishna, he gives us this world. Just like that. Okay, you go and enjoy that world. So many things are there. So many minerals are there. So much food. So much variety is there in this world. You go there and enjoy. Krishna is not attached. Krishna is not possessive. That no, you do not go. I will not let you go. No, he renounces, and he lets us, by our own sweet will, take shelter of Krishna with love. Okay, so these 6 opulences, we find that they are full in Krishna only. There is nobody else who is competitor on the position of God. God is one. Sabka Malik ek hai. And who is that one God? That is Krishna. And then from the Vedic literature, from the Bhagavatam, so many Puranas, we understand that from Krishna is emanating everything, and Mahavishnu and Vishnu, they are expansions of Krishna. Okay, it is not the other way around. Vishnu does not incarnate as Krishna. Krishna has always been there. Vishnu has also always been there. All these incarnations, they've always been there in the spiritual world, in the Vaikuntha planets. They have their own planets. When they come to this world, it's like person living on the 10th floor is coming down in front of us. On the 10th floor, he's there on the 10th floor, we cannot see him. But when he comes in front of us, we see him, and we say that, oh, God has incarnated. Yeah, he has just come down from his planet. Okay, more understanding of this we can derive in the later sessions, but this is it from my side for today. And the last thing is to take home lesson that we have everlasting relationships and immortal pastimes with God. And we have the opportunity, every living being has the opportunity to revive his eternal love for God and return back home, back to Godhead. And how do we do that? We do that by chanting names of God. Every religion is telling this. I'm going to cover that in the next session also. Okay, but as a brief, every religion is saying that you recite the names of God. Okay, and the way we do it in this Brahma Sampradaya, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We recite this mantra, we chant this mantra again and again. Hmm? And that is how, that is the method which is given in the Upanishads, in the Puranas, in the Vedas. To be specific, it is given in the Kali Santrana Upanishad. That in the Kali Yuga, if you want to realize God, if you want to realize self, if you want to establish your connection with God again, then you should chant this mantra. And generally, this mantra is chanted. You can chant it just like that. Whatever you are doing doesn't matter. And systematically, it is chanted on these kind of beads. So many of you, I think you already have these beads, Japmala, right? We take this Japmala like this, and we chant with each bead, we chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra once. So these are 108 beads in this in this mala, right? And we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 108 times, and that is called one round of this mala. Okay, so I request you, please try to do that. This is a meditation technique, mantra meditation. Okay, and it revives our relationship with Krishna. It हमारा संबंध वापस भगवान से स्थापित करने के लिए ये जप करने का जप करने की विधि बताई गई है शास्त्रों में. ठीक है? Thank you very much for your kind audience, and I apologize for shooting the time a little bit. My request to you is please join on time, so that we can also end on time. Otherwise, without the logical conclusions, I cannot end also the sessions. But I understand at the same time that it is, in the Sunday evenings, weekends, you get this is the only Saturday, Sunday with the family, and there are so many other things also to take care of. But still, if so, there's only one topic remaining now. Please help start on time in the next week. Thank you very much. Any questions I can take? I can stay. I have time. If you want to leave, please feel free to do so. Those who have questions, we can discuss those questions.
One question.
Yes, Shashi.
Yeah, Prabhuji, how is it that if the Sukshma body, if the physical body has been destroyed and the Sukshma body remains, then how does it gets put into a new body? And what is the lag time? Because it's all depending on karma.
Yes.
But how this placement happens into a new body? Because yes, we understand biology, X and Y chromosome and all those things, but how this placement happens of the soul into the body?
Yeah. So see, in this material world, when we are not purified yet, right? We leave the gross body, and the subtle body remains with the soul. So soul and the subtle body, they are like stuck together. Okay, they are not two different entities until we purify ourselves. Okay, so the soul thinks that I am this subtle body, I am this mind intelligence false ego. That is a feeling, because the desires of soul are filtered through the mind intelligence false ego. Okay, so this is all covered up. This is like one entity, it leaves one body, and if we deserve another body immediately, then the material nature will arrange that body, and it puts us into the womb of the mother or in the egg. The material nature arranges that, and after that only the growth will start happening in the womb or of the egg, right? The growth starts happening, and then life happens
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand that. But my still question is, I feel little tricky, both
Mhm,
by science and our philosophy, right, of the preachings, that how
mhm,
this placement happens, because we all understand biology, we all understand how a new life takes shape in the mother's womb. That
mhm,
is known science theory.
mhm,
But, but the placement of this Shukshma body with the soul together at the right time,
mhm.
because how does that happen? I mean, is there a reasoning into that? Because we can't see it, and everything takes time to develop into a mother's womb. But the
Yes.
heartbeat, right? I think
Mhm.
that's the first time that the life has been formed. Even a cell is alive, technically. Forget the heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I feel a little lost that how the whole, like the way the death happens, the soul leaves, right? You can feel that the body has died.
Yes.
You feel that a birth has happened inside the mother's womb, non-scientifically, without going on a science principle.
Mhm.
How does that process happens adhyatmic way?
See, Srimad Bhagavatam in the third canto, it describes, and actually from that verse, it is described that how a child in the mother, in the womb of the mother, develops also in the 9 months, and it starts from this verse. Karmana dev netrena jantur deho upapadyate striya praveshta udara pumso reta kanashrayah. So it says that, you know, two factors which we discussed, karmana and dev, the our our whatever we have done, so that is our deserve, right? And deserve and desire, and then dev, and under the supervision of the divine factors, a person, a soul is put into jantur deho upapadyate, in a living species. Huh? And how is it done? Striya pravishta udra, in the, female body of any living species. Pumso reta kanashraya, from the father's sperm, right? In the form, the life will come in the form of the father's sperm, right? And the sperm, then it collides with the, so that biology will know, right? So the first of all, this the soul and the subtle body, they are put together in the sperm itself, and from the passage of the sperm, it will get into the egg, and then that is how the egg will start growing, right? The growth means the soul is there. Sometimes medical science says that, you can do abortion before 4 months or 3 months because the life is still not there. No, life is there, and if the life was not there, then how could the life, this lump of flesh, could grow in the womb? Growth only happens when there is life, when there is consciousness, when there is soul, right? So that is how the transfer happens, and then the growth starts happening. I still do not know whether I answered your question fully or not, uh, but that is how it is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Is there any aspect of the question which is remained unanswered,
Yeah,
Shashiji?
yes. One more thing is there.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually what you say, that this soul leaves this physical
Yes.
body, uh, and thereafter this after some time it comes or to another this body.
Mm.
Actually, this what the things is that soul leaves the physical body
Mm-hmm.
uh, after so many purities in the physical body itself. I hope that this the karma which you say,
Mm-hmm.
the karma at the time of death, people get so many this thing, disease and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
That is the thing which soul gets purified, and after getting purified, only the soul leaves the physical body. Is it
Oh,
not?
no, yeah. So in, yeah, the diseases etc. which the person is getting, they are due to the karma, right? That is true. But then,
Ah,
and all the
if that is
karma,
so, if
yeah, yeah. What I mean to say is, all the karma does not get settled, may not get settled in one body only. Just because the person was diseased at the time of death, yeah, some karma he has taken, he has settled, but there may be a whole lot of karma which is still not settled, that will come into the next life. Okay.
So that is why, if that is true, that this soul leaves the physical body after getting it pure. So what the question was that how much time it will take to take this another body. That is what the question was.
Okay, how much time will it take to get the next body?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So two things. One thing is that soul, when we leave the present body, at that time we are not pure. Okay. Mind, intelligence, false ego, they are impure, and that is why we are getting another body. If we are pure, then we will go straight back home, back to Godhead. We will go to spiritual world. If we are pure at the time of leaving the body, because and we are not pure, we get the another body. Now, how much time does it take to take another body? It depends upon several factors again, which are not observable from us. And there are so many, like the ghosts are there. If let's say somebody commits suicide, now he committed a crime, he was allotted this body for some particular number of years, particular age, but he committed suicide. Now this person will be awarded the next body only after he has that time is over, not before that. If he was to live for 70 years, he died in 40, he committed suicide in 40 years, he has to just remain in the ghost body for 30 years. Now what is a ghost body? Ghost is nothing but the soul and the subtle body, that's it. They keep waiting for the next body, they are called ghosts. Okay. And there are some people who have a lot of punya. Okay. So when they leave the body, the subtle body and the soul, it goes to the Swargaloka. It will go to the heavenly planets. They will enjoy there. Then they will come back, and then they will get to another body. There are some people who have committed heinous crimes, very, very sinful activities they have done. They will go to Naragaloka. Then they will get suffering there. Then they will come back, and then they will be put into an animal's body. And so this is like, it varies from soul to soul what kind of karma we have collected. Okay.
Okay, Jay Prabhu ji, that sounds good. अच्छा लगा. तो मतलब कहने का मतलब है कि ये पूरा कर्म फल के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है.
Yes.
और उस कर्म फल में आपके कर्म अगर आपको मुक्ति दे दिए हैं तो तब तो ठीक है. अगर मुक्ति नहीं है तो डिपेंडिंग ऑन टाइप ऑफ कर्मा आपको स्वर्ग या नर्क के बीच का टाइम निकाल के फिर वापस जो नेक्स्ट कर्म के ऊपर से बॉडी मिलेगी उसका भोग करना है.
Yes, exactly. We have to settle our karma, whether it is pap or punya. Both we have to settle in this body, whatever we have. And spiritual world we can go only after purifying ourselves. We have to be spirit, then we go to spiritual.
And when you say purified way of spirit to go to the spiritual world, that means only soul minus the sukshma body, right?
Exactly. Yes. So only the soul.
So soul minus sukshma body attain करने के लिए क्या होता है फिर तरीका?
So this is so that is what yoga is about, right? All the yogic practices, spiritual practices are meant to leave the subtle body here. Gross body we leave every life, right? Every time I get a body, it is very easy to leave the gross body here. The subtle body leaving process is the spiritual practice. And that's the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It purifies our mind, intelligence, false ego, right? Yajnas, the deity worship. There are so many other ways of the practices which are given, meditation techniques, they are only for purifying the mind, intelligence, false ego. But now in the Kali Yuga, only Japi Yajna, only the chanting of holy names will be effective. That is given in the scriptures. Okay. The meditation, which used to happen when people used to go to jungles and do tapasya, that will not be effective in this age. The yajnas will not be effective in this age. The deity worship will not be effective so much in this age. In this stage, what will be effective? Only the chanting of holy names. When we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then our mind intelligence falls to go. The whatever dust and whatever lust, anger, pride, greed, all these enviousness, it is there in our mind intelligence falls to go. It will start getting cleaned up when we associate with saintly people, chant the mantra, and when we read the scriptures, slowly we get purified.
थैंक यू। और एक सिर्फ आखिरी क्वेश्चन, ये चैंटिंग के लिए कोई सही समय होता है क्या, कि सिर्फ सुबह ही करना चाहिए, ब्रह्म मुहूर्त में नहा करके साफ करके अपने आप को, या आपको कभी फ्री समय है और आइडियल है तो भी आप ये जप कर सकते हैं, कि कोई इस पे गाइडलाइन है क्या? जय प्रभु जी।
Yes, very good question, Shashi ji. So many mantras are there in the Vedic realm, and many mantras have many kind of restrictions, right? And they are for different purposes. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is for purifying our consciousness, right? And for this mantra, there are no rules and regulations. If we can do it in the morning with a very nice ways, posture, and it is very good if we can do that. But if we cannot do that in the morning, we can do that in the midnight also, before sleeping also, after eating food also, wearing shoes, going in the car, any way we can do it, right? Because this mantra is meant for chanting 24 hours. Now we cannot do it 24 hours because we are conditioned. Our mind will rebel. Our mind will not allow us. So we start with slowly 1 round, 2 rounds. So when we are chanting on the japa beads, right? Just try to sit at one place and try to chant. We have taken bath or not, doesn't matter. We have what direction we are facing, doesn't matter. What time of day it is, doesn't matter. But naturally, when we do it in the morning, it is easier to do it because our mind is a little bit less disturbing. It is peaceful in the morning. The time is also peaceful, conducive, right? But it can be done anytime. It can be done in the car, in the office also. Okay.
ओके।
Yeah.
और आखिरी सवाल क्योंकि हो रहा है, क्या ये सिर्फ चैंटिंग की बात है कि हम मान लीजिए गाड़ी चला रहे हैं तो सुनने में भी उसका उतनी ही इम्पैक्ट है जितना कि बोलने में, कि ये बोलने का इम्पैक्ट ज्यादा है यहाँ महत्वपूर्ण क्या?
So it is both. Yeah, good question again. It is both. See, when we do proper mantra meditation, we should actually sit and speak this mantra from our mouth and we should hear it. Okay, at that time, we should not meditate upon, let's say, whatever pastimes or whatever we have read or whatever the photographs or paintings of Lord Krishna or Lord Ram or nothing. No, nothing like that. We speak this mantra and we hear, we focus on the sound vibration. So this sound vibration is going to clean us up. Okay. So that is a proper way of doing it. Okay. Now, of course, extra also when we can do it. Well, we are going in the car somewhere, we are free. We can just keep uttering this mantra. There is no problem because Lord's holy names, they are anyway purifying.
ये जय प्रभु जी, मैं बोल रहा था आजकल के डिजिटल युग में जैसे यूपी ड्राइव में अगर इस मंत्र को हमने लगा दिया और गाड़ी चलाते वक्त में ये इसका जप हो रहा है गाड़ी में और हम सुन रहे हैं और हम बोले नहीं लेकिन सुन रहे हैं या उसके साथ में हम रिपीट कर रहे हैं सबकॉन्शियसली बिना तेज आवाज की इंटरनली,
yes, it will help.
Is that a right practice?
Yes, it's a good practice. It's a very good practice. It should be done. In my home, I mostly I keep playing I have this recorded mantra of Srila Prabhupada, and then I keep on playing it. Yeah, it helps. But it should not substitute. It should not be substitution for my own minimum chanting. Okay, the minimum mantra meditation I should do on my own also. This is additional.
And that is क्या पूरा bid 100-08 का bid, और I can do जैसा समय मिला 5 बार कर लिया, 11 बार कर लिया, कुछ ऐसा है या पूरा bid एक बार तो करना चाहिए? What do you say?
कैसे भी कर सकते हैं, 11 बार भी बोला, 5 बार भी बोला, एक बार में बैठ के वो भी वो भी कर सकते हैं मंत्रा मेडिटेशन, but 108 is like, you know, we should try to do 108 times at once. Okay,
Oh.
that, yeah, it's like better than doing 11 one time and 5 one time, broken form में. ऐसा करने से अच्छा है जितना भी मैं मेरा कैपेसिटी है, जितना भी मैं करना चाहता हूँ उतना एक साथ में एक बैठ के अगर किया तो इट विल गिव मोर बेनिफिट्स.
ठीक है जय प्रभु जी. In interest of time, I'll stop here. Thank you for the session today.
Thank you very much, and let's meet next week for the final session.